After searching for my biological father for nearly 18 years, I finally had my first real lead. It led me to a restaurant 45 minutes from home. But as I walked through those doors that night, I had no idea how the conversation was about to unfold. After finding the article online and realizing the family who owned the Castle restaurant had another restaurant, I knew I had to go there. It was the first real lead I had ever found. So I grabbed the photograph of my mom that had been sitting on a shelf in her house for years, put it in my purse, and started driving. The entire drive there, my mind was racing. For nearly 18 years, I had been searching for my biological father with almost nothing to go on, and now suddenly I had something that might actually lead somewhere, but there was one problem. I had absolutely no plan. I kept asking myself questions as I drove. What was I going to say when I got there? How would I even start that conversation? Would they remember my mom? Would they remember the chef who worked there? Or would this just turn into another dead end like every other lead I had followed over the years? By the time I arrived at the restaurant, it was around 7 o'clock on a Friday night. I remember walking toward the entrance feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This was the first time in nearly 2 decades that I felt like I might actually be close to finding an answer. But there was another thought running through my mind too. I had no idea what kind of situation I might be walking into. I didn't know if my father had another family. I didn't know if I was supposed to exist in their world. And a strange thought crossed my mind. What if showing up and asking questions caused problems for someone? So as I walked inside the restaurant, I made a decision. I would sit down and eat dinner first, just like any other customer. My thinking at the time was that if I started asking questions right away, it might make people uncomfortable, or worse, it might cause someone to react badly. And this might sound a little silly now, but I remember thinking to myself, at least if I ate dinner first, my food couldn't be poisoned. Looking back now, I can laugh about that thought. But at the time, I really didn't know what kind of situation I might be stepping into. So I walked inside and immediately noticed how beautiful the restaurant was. It was the kind of place you might go on a date. The lighting was warm. The atmosphere felt elegant. A hostess greeted me and brought me to a large round table. When she sat me down, I noticed something interesting. My table was positioned in a way where I could see a lot of what was happening in the restaurant. Directly across from me, I could see the entrance to the kitchen, and nearby there was a hallway leading to the washrooms, which meant I could see a lot of the staff moving in and out. Part of me felt like I had the perfect seat to observe everything around me, so I sat there quietly watching the staff, wondering if I might recognize someone from the article I had read earlier. But I didn't. After a while, I remember thinking it was strange that no one had come to take my drink order yet. Then something unexpected happened. A man who appeared to be around my age walked past my table. He had already taken a few steps past me when suddenly he stopped. He pivoted on one foot, turned around, and walked back toward my table. Very politely, he asked, "Has anyone come to take your order yet?" I told him no. He apologized and asked what he could get for me. I ordered my favorite Greek dish, chicken souvlaki. While I was sitting there waiting for my food, I continued looking around the restaurant, trying to see if I recognized anyone from the article, but I didn't see anyone familiar. Eventually, I finished my meal. And the same man came back to my table and asked if there was anything else he could get for me. That's when I decided it was finally time to ask the question that had brought me there. I said, "Actually, yes. I came across this restaurant while doing some research about a restaurant that used to be opened in the 1980s in Flower Town called the Castle." The moment I said those words, his reaction surprised me. He immediately said, "Oh, yes, I remember that restaurant." Then he held his hand out around his waist to show a height and said, "I was about this tall when my parents owned it." I remember feeling my heart start beating faster because suddenly this conversation felt very real. Then I reached into my purse and pulled out the photograph of my mom. It was the picture of her, standing behind the bar at the Castle restaurant. I handed it to him and said my mom used to work there before I was born. He looked at the photo for a moment. Then he looked back at me and he said something that gave me goosebumps. He said, "Oh my God, I remember her. I remember her bright blue eyes and her laugh." For the first time in my entire life, someone outside my family recognized my mom from that place and that time. And suddenly it felt like I was closer to the truth than I had ever been before. But even though he remembered my mom, I still had no idea where my father was. Would this man be able to help me find him? Like and subscribe to my channel so you can follow my story.